Ruby Cornish, I mean, I can't help but think, looking at that long, long video, what an experience. But the other thing some might be wondering when they see your 40 plus day walk and all the conditions you endured as well as enjoyed is why? Why did you want to do it?
Yeah, that's the question that I get so often, Adam. Hello, by the way. I think the answer is has got a few different elements to it. I mean, there's the obvious kind of just personal challenge. I've been solo hiking for a number of years now, and the Bibbulmun Track is the longest uninterrupted walking trail in the country. So it was always there as kind of like a beacon calling to me. But also just the fun of it. The trail is the favorite place. I just love being out there. It fills me with joy. I'm so rarely anxious or stressed when I'm in the bush. And also, I guess an element of it is, escapism. It's running away from the big city life. There's not many opportunities in the modern world to be gritty and tough. And in the bush, your aloneness becomes powerful.
Tell us about the track because knowing hiking and distance hiking as you do, you presumably could have picked a few. But what was it about this one in WA that was calling your name?
So incredibly, the Bibbulmun Track doesn't seem to be very well known to East Coasters, but it is stunning. It's 1,005 kilometres and it goes from Albany on the south coast of WA along the coast for about a week, and then you pivot north and you walk north for the rest of it, and it takes you through giant old karri forests. You get to see the famous tingle trees, through the rolling Perth hills, through farmlands. Like the landscape changes all the time, and as I did it, the weather was getting colder and colder, and you can see at the beginning I'm sort of frolicking and swimming in the ocean, and by the end I'm like rugged up and shivering.
Up. Yeah. Tell me about then the preparation, because for us mere mortals, the preparation for a 40 plus 1,000 kilometre hike must be extensive, and yet you probably have to be brutal on what you can and can't take.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's not as complicated as people maybe feel it could be. There's certainly upfront costs when it comes to buying gear, because, everything's ultralight these days and you can spend as much as you want. I've looked at buying tents that are worth like 3 weeks rent, which just seems totally ridiculous. But if you're getting started out, you can borrow as much gear as you can until you sort of figure out what you need and what you don't need. But I think, the big three is your pack, your sleeping system, and your shelter. And if you get those things sorted, you're okay weight-wise. And with the food, I was sending myself food packages to post offices along the way. So I'd just send a big box of food. Yeah. And a lot of people do it this way. I miscalculated the length of time it would take for my food box to get from Sydney to Western Australia. So my first two did not show up, which left me a little high and dry for the first couple of weeks of my trip. But then they did start showing up after that. Phew.
Ruby Cornish, what really struck me, looking at this when you did it in real time late last year and then reviewing the recent video that you've posted, was what you felt, not just what you saw. What was it that made you feel so much when you're on this walk, on this trek?
Oh, yeah, it is. It's a strange thing to describe because it is at one time, it is an emotional roller coaster, and you are cycling through moments of intense joy and then sometimes, intense grief. Things bubble up that you haven't sort of let yourself mull over for a long time. And then there are mostly just huge stretches of gentle boredom. But what makes it so wonderful is that you're really properly experiencing all of these moments. Like, you're really present. I don't listen to music on the trail. I don't listen to podcasts. I don't journal. I don't read. I just try and soak in everything around me. So I will stop if I see a beautiful leaf. If I spot a bird, I will stop and watch it until it flies off. And you have time to do these things. So at the same time that it's kind of these intense emotions, it's also these long stretches of just gentle nothingness. And I think all of that together can be really healing because I have this big city life the rest of the time where I'm sort of distracted from my own feelings and I don't have time to stop and see beautiful things. So it's just allowing yourself time to experience all your emotions and notice all those things.
How much is that time and space a luxury, Ruby?
Oh my gosh, it's an absolute luxury. And people think that they see what I do on the trail as really roughing it. You know, that I'm sort of out there, I'm not showering, I'm having to eat these
Ruby's version of
dehydrated
alone or
meals.
something, yeah.
Exactly. But it's such a gift. And it's, to me, it is better than any 5-star hotel. Like I let myself stay in a nice hotel for one night, usually when I finish a long trail. And just to have a hot shower and a warm bed is like the ultimate in luxury. But really, nothing compares to waking up on the trail at sunrise to birdsong and you're completely alone and you have this incredible view and you're like, this is all just here for me. Oh, it's indescribably beautiful.
ABC News journalist and broadcaster Ruby Cornish is our guest, formerly of these Canberra parts and usually a big city girl in Sydney, but she has conducted late last year a remarkable 40-plus day trek in Western Australia and is speaking on Breakfast this morning about how epic in so many ways it was and is if you choose to take on something like this. Adam, Shirley with you. The other thing that really struck me, Ruby, is for someone whose business, whose job is to communicate, to present, you speak through the time as just loving the alone time. And in fact, as every day passed, you became more comfortable with not speaking to people. Just break that down a bit for us.
Yeah, look, I'm a very antisocial hiker, and I noticed as I went that, you know, each day you come to a little shelter and there's a logbook there that you can fill out, and I was reading the logbook entries of other people, other hikers, and lots of them write at the end of the day, oh, I got to the shelter and there's no one else here. Oh well, another night alone. I guess I can handle that. Whereas I am the polar opposite of that. If I get to a shelter and I'm alone, I'm over the moon. And I'm a very sociable person day to day, but there's something about when I'm out there, you know, I'm out there to be on my own, and I really soak up that solitude. And the longer that I'm alone for, the more I enjoy it. And because I'm slowly getting to know myself and getting comfortable in my own company. And you find that it's very difficult to interact after a while. You know, you do see someone on the trail and you just can't talk anymore. And you're like, blah, 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 blah. And I started some weird habits in the last week or so. I was talking to someone about my day and he said, oh, where have you been? And I said, oh, well, we woke up and we walked along here and we came down the mountain. And he said, oh, were you with someone? And I was like, no.
Wait.
He said, why are you talking? Why are you talking in the plural? I was like, oh my goodness, I'm starting to go a little bit loopy. I was thinking about myself as like a separate mind and body or something.
I just wonder, Ruby, how underrated solitude is in this digital 24/7 connected world then, and how much more you learnt about that on this journey.
Oh, yeah, look, there's something really to be said for it. And when I'm in the city, I get lonely very easily. You know, I've just moved into a place by myself. I live alone, and it's like challenging to come home from work and have an empty house. And I'm always kind of seeking out company when I'm here. But out in the bush, your aloneness becomes really powerful, and this a deep space for reflection, and as I said, really healing. And I don't know if you've watched that TV show Alone.
Yeah, a bit
yes,
of it.
The Australian season, brilliant. And Gina, the winner of that season, who is absolutely my spirit animal, I think she's incredible. She said in an interview afterwards, the more comfortable we are with the wilderness outside, the more comfortable we can be with the wilderness inside, which I just thought spoke to me so strongly. It's like you gain all of this ability to deal with your issues back home when you're out on the trail.
How much will that journey be a part of who you are from this point on, Ruby?
Well, I'm feeling like the trail walking is really addictive. So as soon as you get home, it's like people who get their first tattoo. Like you come home and you're planning your next one already. Yep. So this is how I sort of get myself through the slog of life, is where am I going next? Which trail is next on my list? But certainly this is a part of who I am now. And I think, when I make new friends, it's one of the things that people need to know about me is every few months I disappear off the face of the earth for a little while, just to go and recharge, and I'll come back and I'm refreshed and feeling better again. But I think especially for women, this is a really empowering thing to do. And if you're a woman out there wondering, oh, I'd love to do that, but could I do it? Is it safe? Like, you can do it. And it's not scary. And it is pretty safe. I think big cities and track towns are more dangerous than out in the wilderness on the trail. And so if you're just wondering if you can do it, that's what I was wondering a few years ago. And now, I've never looked back.
Well, your example and your experiences is inspiration as any we need. Ruby Cornish, it's just a fabulous story to tell and a wonderful place to see. Thanks for recalling it for us today.
Thank you for chatting to me about it, Adam.